So let's do a quick roll call vote of the Parks Commissioners here. Susanna?
Here.
Dave?
Aye.
Chris?
Here.
Here.
You're here, Anna?
Yep.
Okay, let me do my spiel. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, I'm just going to try to come in every time. Up this way. Let me start over. So in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and will be broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel, and that this meeting of the Lunenburg Park Commission is being conducted remotely. Accordingly, for those that are participating via video, please be aware that others may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19, is following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Mass Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. The order, which you can find posted on the town website on the COVID-19 information page, can be accessed through the town manager's webpage and allows for public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. And as always, our meetings do feature public comment. Let me go ahead and admit these last folks. All right, so this is this Park Commission meeting of January 25th. With us tonight is our folks from the skate park. So I think in order to try to keep some order to this meeting, I'm hesitant to say we need to do hands, but at the same time, I think I'm going to ask to raise hands just so we don't talk over each other. So let's sort of see how it goes. And if somebody has something to add, let's try not doing hands, I guess. And then if we need to change it, we can raise hands. I want this to be a discussion, not some thing where we're having ultra control of it, because I just think it flows naturally if we don't have to raise hands. All right, so Anna, you want to kick us off? Maybe?
I'm going to kick us off.
Oh, great.
Thanks. I've been elected spokesperson. I'm not, I'm going to try to diverge from a typical spokesperson.
I think
Your volume faded, Greg.
I think he just froze.
He just froze.
Oh.
Let me text him. He may not realize it's going
Greg,
on.
there's an issue with your volume. Can't hear you.
You froze for about 20 seconds and your volume fell off.
How's that?
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, sorry. Did you hear anything I said? Nothing? I'll just.
Nope.
I'm going to be the spokesperson tonight, but I'm going to try to speak as little as possible, let the boys speak. But just by way of introduction, we appreciate you inviting us this evening. I think we all remember that we were before this commission, as well as at a joint meeting of the select board about 2 months ago. And I think as a result of that, the discussion that happened in that meeting, we thought it would be wise to continue the dialogue with you folks. And so we appreciate you giving us some agenda time. The boys have put together a brief slide presentation that is intended to give just a context of things, just because they started this thing. It's hard to believe, but they started this thing over 3 years ago as 7th graders. And for a project that was supposed to just kind of finish, start and finish in their 7th grade year, they're all still plugging away at it here almost 3.5 years later. So we've got some history here. So we really appreciate it if the commission would be amenable to a brief presentation.
Yep, go for it.
Okay, so if I could, am I allowed to share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So boys, I'm going to share my screen and I will give the floor over to, I think, Griffin to kick us off. And can you all see that?
Yes.
And I apologize, this is not a PowerPoint slides, but PowerPoint isn't working on my computer currently, so these are just PDFs, so I'll do my best to navigate. Take it away, Griffin.
All right. Hi, I'm Griffin Kiozo. I'm one of the 5 board members that are part of the Lunenburg Skate Park project. We're on our 3rd year now, and we're looking to get your support. So the first slide, I'm gonna go through why does our town need a skate park? In the past couple of years, trying to learn how to skateboard, it's been obvious that there's no safe environment for us to learn. It's been a lot of being asked to leave and really just not feeling like we belong anywhere, with the added dangers of skating in a place that you just wouldn't want to be in anyways, because you can get hurt some places. Some places have very low visibility and they're just kind of like sketchy areas. So yeah.
Hey, Griffin, hold on one second. Hey, Greg, you just switched your mail over to your,
Yeah, sorry about that. I think I have the wrong slide deck up here. Sorry about that.
sorry, do you want to take a minute and see if you can find the right one? I just don't want you to be sharing your emails all over the place.
Thank you. I was checking to see if I had an email with a different, yeah, let me stop share for a second.
Okay.
Greg,
Like,
if you have 2 screens, you could probably multitask that so you could do 2 things at once.
Yeah, I can do that. Hold on one second.
That there was an email sent out last night with the right slide.
That's the one I thought I used. That's the one I got. Tony Hawk application slideshow.
No, this one was sent out January 22nd. So it was actually 3 days ago.
Okay.
And it was sent in an email titled Lunenburg Skate Park, Parks Prep and Dry Run Meeting.
Okay. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds.
Greg, if you want, I can drive it from here if you want.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, but I don't think I don't see it.
No problem. Karen, if you can let me in again. There we go. If you can let me in. Share my screen. And we're sharing. I hit that. And there we go. It should be coming through on that side. Perfect. Pick up where we left off.
All right.
Keep going, Griff.
So the physical health benefits of skateboarding. Skateboarding is very active hobby. You get outside for long periods of time and it's just a good way to stay in shape, especially with COVID around where everyone's locked inside. It's a good way to get outside and make sure you're not cooped up in a house all day. And that also goes along with the mental health benefits, where it's hard to like keep yourself in like a stable headspace because of everything that's been going on. It's been good to be able to get outside and really just free your mind from everything that's been going on. And skate parks, the positive economic impact, they're actually in the towns that we went to, where we went to go see how the skate parks impacted the community, 100% of the parks we went to, the town all felt that the skate parks all really just added like a solid feature to the town and something that everyone was proud to have in their town. Next slide. How we got here. So 3 years ago, we were in a school project messing around. We had no clue what to do, and we finally landed on building a skate park. Originally, it wasn't going to be like something big. It was just going to be maybe a couple of ramps, a couple of rails. But 3 years later, we have over $72,000 raised, and we're looking to raise more. We've been meeting with multiple groups from around town. You can see the Parks Department, Board of Selectmen, Police and Fire Department, and the Senior Center. And all of those dates are just the first date that we met with them. And we have been in constant discussion with all of those groups ever since we started the conversation.
So
And
how did we
now-
get, oh, sorry.
There we go.
My name is Aiden Moore. I've also been here since seventh grade. So how did we get here? Or how did we figure out what we need for our park? We have visited many parks all over New England. We went on long road trips, visiting maybe 10 parks in one road trip. We've also met with many parks departments in Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. Those are just some examples. We've met with tons more. And we've also met with or talked to design.
Aiden, I think we lost.
Lost your audio, Aiden.
Yeah, I know.
If you turn off your screen while you're speaking, boys, that's going to make it easier for the streaming and you're gonna get less lag. That's what we do in school.
Okay, can you hear me now?
You're good, Aiden. Maybe not.
And now you're not.
Aiden, I'll kick it off for a second while you get your audio working. But we have met with plenty of designers who have been helping us work through the process of building something that can suit a town and really fit the needs of like our town specifically. We've been talking with the skate park project, which is the Tony Hawk Foundation, and a few people there have been helping us for the past couple months really just figure out everything we need, and they've been a big help to our park, helping us nail down the right size and just the best places to put a park of like this size. So yeah. Aiden, is your audio working?
Yeah, I'm back. So this is the original document that the the Board of Selectmen signed September 18th, 2018. We thought it would just be important to show this because it was really just the time when they promised us the land, and we thought it would be a great thing to show because we have been fundraising for this land for the past 3 years, and we really would like to stay on it.
Hi, I'm Chris Roy. I've also been part of this group since 7th grade. And what we're looking for in this park is something that's both accessible by people of all ages and something that will last. And the easiest way to do that is to have it in a big open area that's accessible to everyone. Next slide. These are the potential Marshall Park locations that we got from the Parks Department with descriptions about them on the left. Some of the pros with these locations were that the Parks Department would be in favor of our location that we picked, and it would also be with other towns' familiarity with the field. It would be a more like destination park for other towns.
Is Chris frozen?
I think they're switching. Who's up next, boys?
I think this is Chris's. I think he's just frozen.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe the Roy family's having internet issues tonight. Sorry.
Chris is muted if you speak. I don't know if he's Chris. You're muted.
You guys hear anything I said?
No, you cut out there, buddy, on this slide. We didn't hear any on this slide.
Just this slide?
Yes. this
Yes, just this
Oh,
slide,
one
yeah.
isn't mine, that's why. This one's Aiden Swift's.
Aiden Swift, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. So some cons with this one. It isn't, it's not a safe route from the center of town. There's very little visibility from the road, and therefore creates it dangerous. If someone gets hurt, it'd be hard to get emergency vehicles into there. We've already had previous history with a failed skate park at this location, and because of growth of trees, it would require more tools to remove, and therefore more money. Some pros for TCP is it has great visibility from the road and is also very close to the center of town, as well as the school and athletic facilities. Another one is that it's right next to a children's playground, so people could bring their families of all ages and everyone could have fun. It could increase popularity to local businesses and help them grow their business. A few cons are that there isn't a lot of parking in the facility. There's a loss of green space, and there's potential of a noise complaints with TCP possibly becoming a town office, and it might not be aesthetically pleasing next to that. Are there any questions?
So I don't have any off of that. I would like to, is that the end of your presentation, boys?
Yes, that's the end.
So I'd like to go, if you want to go back on your slide deck, you can. I'd like to talk a bit about the pros and cons of just Marshall Park, because currently that's the only piece of land that we, as a park commission, have any control over. So on the pros of this park from, and I'll ask any of the parks commissioners to chime in on this as well. The big one that I see from my side is that is property that the park commission currently has care and control over. So therefore, that's something that there's no other group involved in the decision-making of that piece of property and the governance of it. Once a skate park would, if it does go in there, it'd be just the Parks Commission. So to me, that's a pro. Because like I said, that piece of land over next to TC Pastios is not in the care or control of the Parks Commission. That's in the care and control, I believe, of the Board of Selectmen. Park commissioners, do you have anything that you want to add as any pros to that piece of property?
I mean, I just in the grand scheme of the larger outlook with Marshall Park, you know, we're the Parks Commission. I think the vision here is not Marshall Park as you see it today necessarily. We're laying out in the very early stages of laying out maybe some kind of master plan to reinvigorate Marshall Park, and so this piece could fit in nicely with that plan. So to the point of, you know, a failed skate park there in the past, you know, I think that's certainly not, as for me personally, as a parks commissioner, that's certainly not something I'd want to see. I would, seeing this as a greater, you know, a piece in the greater scheme of what Marshall Park could be. I think this would fit in nicely. And I think the plan, you know, would be to make sure it's you know, in a space that, you know, fits with the mission of Marshall Park and making it a place that people would want to come and enjoy and have it be, you know, in the open and visible and safe, and not, you know, tucked away under the trees in the woods on a piece of pavement with a wood ramp, you know, and that's, you know, which is what was there before. So that's just my kind of 2 cents on that front.
Yeah. Can you move to the Marshall Park cons, please? Slide, which is the next one. You know, I don't really agree with some of these points. Access from town center isn't safe. There's 2 points of access, one on Mass Ave, one also coming from Main Street to Highland to Chestnut. That is, the town is working on getting money for building more sidewalks, and I know the expansion of sidewalk accessibility to Marshall Park is on the table for that. Little no visibility, you know, that all depends on where we decide to put it on this, you know, several acres of land. Maybe the previous location was the most ideal. It's definitely not an isolated location. It's, you know, it's in the center of town. The previous skate park failed. I think the failed is kind of a big word. I think, you know, it was probably in high use for a while and with no care and maintenance, which is what has happened to some of our parks, including Whalum, where Wallace now. There was a playground there that didn't work out, that kind of worn out, but the community have come back, built a new one, and that's thriving. So I don't think we can use history of something that didn't work out ideally as, you know, determination for the future. Yeah, I would not like to remove old growth trees. Not sure how old, what do you call it, this describing as old growth? Usually old growth is trees that are several hundred years old. I think there's some there that have been there for a while, but there's a lot of land on Marshall Park. Higher maintenance costs due to vegetation. I agree with that. But we kind of need to take that into maintenance costs is something that, should the town accept this park, we are going to be undertaking that. And doing maintenance on several different properties has an added cost to that. So I don't think the cons here are necessarily deal breakers. They are, I don't agree with them all, with how they've been presented. And I don't think these should be something that us as a Parks Commission should say, yes, this is not a good idea. I still think Marshall Park is the best for the town, most viable for the town, for people using. Parking lot in town center is a huge problem. And adding something else that would be a destination that will add more cars coming to town, it's a big problem. Business don't have reliable parking there. The town uses the teen center parking lot until like 3 o'clock, and then they have to switch it around. Parking is a big problem, and it will be detrimental for business in the town center to have a skate park that is destination from other locations coming in there and preventing the business from using the available parking spots. So that's my, I would hope that, what I had hoped for this conversation was that we would be talking about, what it would take for the group, the skate park group, to say, Marshall Park is a good option, because that's our suggestion. We would like to support something in Marshall Park. But if the skate park committee is coming in saying this is not something we would consider, I don't think there's much more to talk. And I would like to know if this presentation was with the intention to kind of say that, or should we have a discussion of how to overcome some of the cons?
So I really do. I understand your point. So we're very open to all of your suggestions. In the end, we really just want a skate park built.
Mm-hmm.
But we personally think that our location would be the best, but we are very pliable. We think that this could work out, and we want to listen to all of your suggestions. And in the end, we really think that we could build a good park on Marshall Park. So yeah, I think that it's just a matter of where, because we have done extensive amount of research on what a skate park needs, and Marshall Park, one of our main issues is about visibility, because without visibility it becomes a place not savory. So we are just really looking for a plan that will suit our needs, and but will also suit your needs.
Thank you. Dave, you have your hands up?
Yeah, couple of things jumping. Well, let's start in the center of town first, and then I'll go back to Marshall. There's another issue that I brought up a few weeks ago, actually at the capital planning meeting. And that is that I'm really concerned that piece of property, including the senior center, which is a school control property, the playground, also under schools, and then the Passios property from the playground down to the building. I think part of my concern is that there was a proposal for a small parking lot on the playground side of the senior center, and it was just going to be crammed into that little bit of space that's presently there. And I'm not an engineer, but I don't think you'll get more than half a dozen functional parking spaces out of that. So I think there needs to be a lot of thought put into the needs of the senior center, which have been kind of piecemeal put together over the past 10 or 15 years, trying to get accessible parking and enough parking just for the senior center needs. And I think part of that solution is going to need to use some of that property or land on the TC Passios lot that you guys are looking to put the skate park on. Aesthetically, I don't think if TCP goes ahead as town offices, I don't think it should be there. And I'll leave it at that. I mean, it could possibly end up there in the over the long run, but I will not support it there. Let's go to Marshall Park. I know the park like the back of my hand. I grew up in that neighborhood. I spent many of my summer days there. I actually, as a Parks Commissioner, get out every Saturday morning for about 2 hours and I visit at least one park, if not more. And Marshall is usually 3 times a month minimum. There are 2 locations. One of them was on your map that you showed earlier that are very visible from streets. The one where the old bathroom used to be, that one there is very visible from Chestnut Street. All the old growth trees, as you describe them, are already gone. That was logged off. So all that is regrowth in that area there. And I believe it gives you some unique options because of the grades. I'm not sure about that. I'm not a designer, engineer, or anything like that, but just looking at it, I think that is a pretty good spot. Then also and Anna sent something to the commission that we're not able to talk about until this meeting. My second choice actually was along the entrance driveway from Route 2A. I strongly believe that there is enough room in the area to the right of the driveway as you're driving in to put a substantial park right there. And again, very visible to 2A and very accessible. As for emergency response, nowadays with all the electronics units that we have available, I would almost insist, no matter where the park is, that there be a transmitter call box. And now this would be up to the police and fire to agree to it. But you know, the quicker you can get a response for an injury, the better. And if you have a pull station that's doesn't turn into a problem with people pulling at false alarms, which I don't think nowadays is as readily happens as readily as it did 20 years ago. So covering emergency response from that perspective, everybody's got cell phones, so on and so forth. The other very important thing to understand about Marshall Park is that it is a park, and grant funding availability for parks projects, including something like this on that property, there's unlimited possibilities for grants to be applied for, where I do not believe, I don't know this for a fact, but I do not believe you would be eligible for those on the Passios property. So those are my main points.
Thank you. Susanna, do you have anything, or Chris?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I really like the idea of putting it on the driveway into Marshall Park. I hadn't thought of that. Have you tried to map out what the square footage is right there, Dave?
No, I haven't, and that's one of the numbers that I need from the skate park group is the actual area that you need. And I'm not saying the square footage of the functional concrete area, because you got to have, you know, border around that and so on. So I kind of need to know what the gross area is that you need to build this. Also, skate park design is flexible, and I think you've got contacts with skate park designers. If they look at a piece like that, you might find all the aspects that you're looking for in a park that could fit in that space.
Yeah, when I mapped out the screenshot that I sent, it was just very rough, and there is easily about 10,000 square feet there on that entrance. And also, if we were, you know, Marshall Park does need some parking as well. So if, as part of our, you know, master plan, create because that my thought was if the skate park is up front and that area where the letter L and B are in this presentation, you know, it would be a possible expansion of parking space there, because whenever there is the Little League is playing and the softball is playing, and there's just no parking. I mean, we all know that. So we'll, as part of our master plan, we are going to need to develop some parking, and I think we can probably plan some on that area front, in the front, but there is easily more than 10,000 square feet available.
That was seeing Anna, seeing your point. I kind of looked at that driveway entrance. On my kind of map that I hadn't shared with the Parks Commission, but the spot that one of the other spots that I flagged beyond the one up on the hill closer to Chestnut was closer where that LBR is on the map. So kind of right along that
Right.
kind of line there. So out of the driveway. So it's because the driveway I think is a little narrower, so it may limit kind of shape of a park and things like that. It may be more rectangular versus square and so forth. And I think if we pushed it in a little bit, not to the existing parking space, maybe where the other two red dots are, but you know, just south of that the LB and R there, along that edge, it does provide some availability. It's, you know, it'd certainly be right next to a parking lot.
Right.
Parking could align that driveway coming in, and then it's also fairly, you know, very obviously easy access from Mass Ave coming in. The other question I had was related to size. And I know, you know, there's some varying discussions on sizing with the skate park and so forth. I know the commission has previously stated a particular size they would support. And I don't know if this is the time to bring that up or not, but I'd be in favor of opening a discussion again in terms of the size of the park. I think the skate park has an idea in mind with the size that they're aiming for. I've started to do some research and look at sizing of parks and so forth, and safety issues related to size of parks. And I have some concerns about the existing size that the Parks Commission supports, which predates my tenure on the commission here. But I'd be in favor of opening that discussion back up. I don't know if tonight's the night, but at some point, I think if we are going to support a skate park in Marshall Park, I'd be in favor of opening the discussion as we talk about size and the total amount of land they need and so forth, and what that's going to look like. Because I think I just personally, and what I've read so far, 5,000, which is what the commission had previously voted to support, is I think too small from a safety standpoint. If you're adding in skateboarders and bikes and the like, everything that I've read so far is, doesn't support that size as for this town.
Dave?
Yeah, I've got a copy of the parking plan that was put together a number of years ago for Marshall. And just looking at that land availability on the driveway coming in from Mass Avenue, from the edge of the road to the property line on the side that the park could fit into, it's approximately 125 feet wide. It flares out a little bit as you move in, and it looks to be about, you'd have 300 to 325 feet of length available to work with in there. On this plan, along that edge of the road in that section, there are 23 parking spaces, but I'm not so sure that those need to be there. So there's a substantial area there. The property line goes back into the trees a substantial distance. Let's see. At one point, actually, the trees come up pretty close to the road, but it goes at least at 2A, it goes about 50 to 75 feet to the east of the driveway, and comes more or less on a straight line back towards the upper ball fields. Also, there's 25 parking spaces in that area that we were discussing a few minutes ago where that LBR are. You can easily get 25 to 30 parking spaces in that area there on this plan. I'm not saying we're going with this plan. It's just that, you know, that's already been laid out and there are possibilities for moving all this stuff around. And I think back when the skate park group came to the commission, this project was kind of in the beginning of the pipeline. And that's why you got an answer of, well, we're really not sure yet because we may need these spaces for parking. That never moved forward for a number of reasons, but parking will be addressed in the master plan. Although I hope not using up as much space as it does in this overall parking plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's important too that, you know, a lot of the details as to size and location, and I think location in the park, I think we need to agree on if we're going to put it in the park. But the other stuff as to size and what as a commission we'd like to see included in the park is an ongoing conversation. And I very strongly think you should think about the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, grant funding for on parks property would be a huge help to you guys bringing this to fruition from a financial point of view. Thank you.
Do any other parks commissioners have anything to add?
Yeah, I do. Sorry.
Okay.
I think I care more about the skateboard park being well integrated to the overall plan of Marshall and looking like it belongs there and it's not just slapped in. I care about that stuff more than like the aesthetics of it, more than what the actual square footage is at the park. So to your comment, Chris, I'd be open to greater than 5,000 if it looks right and it's well thought out and integrated.
Yeah, that was my point talking tonight, or, you know, when I first spoke earlier. I just want to make sure that the skate park group understands that we're not, you know, the negative side of Marshall Park, you know, there was an existing skate park that didn't last and so forth. Like this commission, the Parks Commission, isn't setting out to just drop a skate park in Marshall Park and then have it flounder again. You know, again, there is a thought here of a capital plan for Marshall Park and to reinvigorate the basketball courts and reinvigorate the track and really make Marshall Park a destination park in the center of town that can be widely utilized by a large portion of the community at any given time. And I think a skate park does fit in nicely then. I think it would be something the Parks Commission would want to see succeed there as part of a master plan, but also I think as a great story and a great tribute to the effort that the skate park group has put in. You know, all these students that are putting the time and efforts in. I think it just tells a great story. And it should be something that should be celebrated and you intend to well maintain, moving forward to keep Marshall Park well maintained, clean, open, and in a spot that people want to kind of hang out at and enjoy. There's 28 acres of land over there. We want to make sure it's a place that people can enjoy and have a variety of different things to do over there.
I think the other thing too, just speaking to the Route 2A entrance side, if we do it right over there, and I would assume, and we've been trying to go in that direction, that would be the main access to the park, with parking and everything geared in that direction. That if we do this park up right and we do it in that area along the driveway, that's the first thing everybody's going to see coming into this destination municipal park, with hopefully we develop multiple uses, including for youth, adults, and seniors. So, I mean, I could see it as, as I said, the first thing people see coming into the park. If we do that right, they'll be impressed. And then hopefully we do the same with anything else we do in the park, that, they're there to enjoy themselves and get outside, recreate, relax, picnic, whatever it is, and probably, I would assume, still have athletic fields.
Griffin, you have your hand up?
Yeah, so just couple issues I have with actually all three of the ones at Marshall Park. One big one is just having kids like walk there after school and from the center of town. Because if I was a parent and my like 10-year-old kid said they wanted to go walk with their friends to the skate park after school, bring their skateboards and just go there by themselves. And they told me that they would have to go walk down Mass Ave. And I've been down like that road a lot. I've even skated down that road, like even on the sidewalk. It's scary. Cars go fast. You feel like you have very like little control. Even when you're walking, it's scary. Like when big trucks go by. So for like a little kid to go like make that journey to just want to go skate after school, it's scary. And it's kind of far from the school too. So as a parent, I would feel less like confident and less willing to send my kid there like with their friends or by themselves. So another thing is just the trees and how even if like you do clear out a good amount of trees and vegetation, there would still be a lot more like leaves and extra just aspects from that. In our research going around to other skate parks, you could tell that the skate parks near trees and in these like just more like dusty and open, or not open, just naturey like environments, they get real slippery real fast, which becomes a whole nother danger concern, because you have skateboarders and BMX bikers going at high speeds, and one small leaf or one small pine needle can make them fall and have to go to the hospital. And that's really not something that we would want to have on our hands, or something that we would want to see happen, because it's happened to a few of us and it's scary and it's very irritating, because then you have groups coming in with a broom like every 5 minutes trying to clean it up, but the next thing you know, it's all just back there again. So for the sake of like keeping it well maintained and safe, the trees would also be a big issue.
Thank you. So I do want to drive home the point again. I think that Chris did a good job of it so far. If a skate park goes in at this location, regardless of where it goes in here, it is not the intention of the current parks commissioners to throw it in there and not look at it again. If the park goes in there, it's going to be maintained to the best of our ability, or the best of the ability of the people that are tasked with that. And it's going to be utilized. We certainly are not going to just dump something in there and walk away and say, oh, well, thanks guys, and that's the end of it. That would not be the plan. I can say that for the current park commission, who knows what's going to happen 10 years from now, but that would be my expectation of the current park commission, to oversee that park to the best of our ability with, whatever it takes. And if we can utilize that to do some programming, then, we would figure out a way to do that as well. So I don't want you to think that this would be going in here and it would, have the same fate as the old park. I think the old park was a mix of issues from the start. Some of it is that they were wooden structures and they weren't maintained. And I think the group of kids that put it in there then grew up and moved on, and nobody else went in and utilized that. I would hope that with the amount of time, effort, and money that you guys are putting in, that wherever this park goes, you know, it would be a highlight of any property that it's on so that it does continue to be used 10, 15, 20 years down the road. I do have concerns on size. I do agree with Susanna that I think aesthetically, the park being a skate park being a good fit for the area that it's going in is important. And I wouldn't have an issue with that. But my biggest hesitation is that and I've said this from day one, I really have strong reservations about supporting a park of a larger size that's going to be a destination. We are a community of 12,000 people. When we look at the size, from everything that's been shared with us and we've researched on our own, a skate spot is the size for a community our size. And again, I'm just not looking to oversee a destination. And I could be alone on that feeling, but that's where I am with that. Does anybody else on either side have anything else they'd like to add to this discussion?
Yeah, if I could just, I'll wrap up at the end, but I don't want to take anybody's thunder here, so.
I would like to add a couple thoughts if that's all right. Am I allowed?
Yeah, yep. And Peter, I see Peter Beardmore, your hand's up as well. I will circle back to you. Let me just let Mr. Moore throw his comments in, and then I will circle up to you.
Thank you. So I've been in a few meetings with involving Parks Department and the town as a proud father sitting in the background of all of this and supporting how I can. A couple of things had mentioned about the pros and cons. Just to clarify one point, the mention of the hazardous nature of that spot was not from, that was something that was given to the boys from, I believe, former police commissioner and from other groups who were telling them about what could be a negative of that site when they were trying to fairly evaluate the different sites. As Griffin appropriately said, right now, as it stands, getting to that site is pretty precarious. So I think it's a fair concern, and go back 3 years when they were looking to evaluate sites. That's why that was mentioned. That's why that had been brought up. I gotta say, as a town member, I think it's exciting that there's, and I don't know that I heard this before, but this is the first meeting I've heard this at, and it's very exciting to hear that there's a coalition on the other side of the window that wants to see something happen. And I think that's great because, as I said in the previous meeting I sat in with, not with everybody in this group, but with the previous parks group, I think this is really an opportunity to create foster and create a collaboration with the town. I think I've heard it been said in different venues that the town wants to have more people be proactive and involved. Well, this is a clear starting point and a good model that would demonstrate how the towns could be involved. That's why the National Parks Group took these boys in to do their interview. It literally was to highlight what good partnerships could look like. So I think this is a real positive, and I think both sides need to be commended for the discussion that I've been listening to, which I really think talks about collaboration. The idea of how making sure that the aesthetics are right and those fit with the kinesthetics, because to be frank, if you build something and it's not enjoyable, I can build a park, and if nobody wants to swing on my swings, well, I build it. So having it look well in the nature of the park and what you guys have as a master plan is great. Having it fit with what these boys know and have researched to depth, what is a good skate park, I think is an awesome marriage. I think I would love to see these boys sit down with the Parks Committee when you get to the next stages of your future plans and have them tell you what they've learned about what a good flow in a skate park is. Because I think when they describe it the way they see it from their use, Ms. Jewell, you're going to have a better sense of kinesthetically how is that park going to look and fit in the space that you finally decide. So I want to applaud both groups because I think this is a really positive conversation. I hope what was mentioned about the visibility and the access becomes part of your master plan too, because it is fair to say that having too much debris collect in there is only going to make it look bad, and that's not going to work for the overall appearance of this final park. So maintenance, as you've said, Karen, is very important, and not having it to be a burden upon the city is another one of those. So how do we work with that as part of the foundation that these boys have already committed in discussion to make to support the skate park? And how do we make sure that this becomes something that the town sees as a real positive? And I think that's tasked on both sides of this conversation. The people who are presently in the committee, maybe looking forward to the people who might someday have your spots that are going to be, as you say, Karen, taking care of it. How do we really make this a collaborative effort that everybody wants to see this really town jewel come in? Because I think, frankly, it is going to be a town jewel for future people of Lunenburg, and not just these boys, but the other people who are going to be able to see this and use it and learn how to skate, which is a tremendously difficult task, but that's all a real positive that we can look forward to. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Peter, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You're up.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good, thank you. I apologize, I joined late and didn't hear the full discussion today. I had to bring a kid to a practice and will shortly leave to go pick up that kid. But I wanted to share with you a little bit of history that I think might be pertinent to the discussion. The first time I spoke publicly about skateboarders in a skate park in Lunenburg, I believe was 2004. And at the time, skateboarders in Lunenburg were spending a lot of time up on Memorial Drive. There were a string of complaints coming in from the patrons and managers of the Eagle House and from employees at Town Hall who didn't like to have the skateboarders around their properties and in and around their cars in those parking lots. And at the time that the skate park area at Marshall Park, the failed effort that originally came around at that time, one of the concerns that was expressed was that skaters wouldn't use it because it was too far away from where skaters were at the end of the school day, which was at the high school and at the former Turkey Hill Middle School, which is where kids of that age get into skating. And I understand there's a lot of other history to that failed effort, but the fact of the matter is that skating has done nothing but grow during that period of time. It's grown from the 70s and 80s when I experimented with it to the time of the early 2000s when we started to realize that this is a need that a certain segment of our community needs to have addressed, to today, 30 or 40 years later, where we still haven't properly addressed it. Unfortunately, a group of kids and their supporting parents and a group of supporters in the community, which I consider myself a enthusiastic supporter, but not a member of any group, have been really excited to see something like this take shape. Now, I'm about to say something very unpopular, or which will come across as very unpopular. And I want to stipulate that I am not making an accusation, but I am expressing some concerns or what I suspect might be happening in the background. And that's, I suspect that there are objections coming from people who will work or spend a lot of time at what is expected to be a future town hall at the TC Passios property, as well as those who work or spend a lot of time at the Eagle House property. And at this point, I don't think that anybody has more of a claim to any of that property than anybody else. And in fact, you know, I view the property that TC Passio sits on, the property that Kids Kingdom 2 sits on today, the property that the library sits on, the property that the Brooks House sits on, as in its totality being really haphazardly managed over the course of the last 20 years. And I think that before we decide as a town that we're going to pull the rug out under the current plan for the skate park and put it someplace else, perhaps to satisfy the concerns of people who would rather not have those students be there, those kids be there, let's have a discussion with all the stakeholders and see if there's a way that we can do it in a way that satisfies everybody's concerns. Because today I just have a sneaking suspicion that this is an alternative that's been presented in lieu of an objection. And I think that the objection needs to be heard.
So Peter, I'm just gonna chime in on that for a second. I'm one of only 5 members. I can honestly say I have not heard a single thing from anybody at Town Hall, anybody from the Senior Center, anybody from that area. The decision that when Parks originally said that we would not support a park at that location, that was made almost a year ago, before any other discussion came up. So maybe there is some talk. If there is, I don't know about it. The only other thing I can say about that is Parks Commission we don't own that piece of land. In my opinion, that's not even a piece of land we can even put on the table as a Parks Commission at this point, because it's not our land to give. It's not our land to make any decisions on. We can say we can support or not support a project that they want to put underneath the Parks Commission. And that's what we had done back in, gosh, a year ago, was saying that we had no interest in maintaining or supporting a skate park on that piece of property. We weren't saying don't put in a skate park at that property. So I just wanted to be clear on that maybe somebody else has heard something, but I have not heard anything from any folks in the center of town.
Well, you know, let me just add something. There's nothing sneaky here. We're all saying the same thing. We would love to explore the idea of having skate park in Marshall Park. There's nothing sneaky from this board. They have had a position. I think the size, everything has been discussed and talked about on open. I think Chris said he's not crazy about the idea next to the town hall. Again, there's nothing sneaky about it. You're saying as it is. So I think that was kind of a statement that doesn't really reflect our position of working with skate park group on how to integrate this with our parks.
I would just add the following, and again, I don't have a lot of evidence to support my suspicions. So I want to be very, very clear and very careful about how I state that. But the net is at the end of the day, you know, there was property that was pledged to this group, and this group has raised money diligently over a period of time. Large donations, small donations, all with that property in mind, all with the expectation that that skate park, if it were built, would be very closely accessible to the students who and the kids who it was intended to serve. And you know, I think that that Griffin's concerns are exactly my concerns. I don't think that kids who gravitate towards skating, who don't necessarily have a parent that's going to be available at 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon to cart them here, there, and everywhere, perhaps to pursue organized sports. But we all see when we're taking our kids back and forth to sporting events around the entrance of the middle high school or in other places, carving up curbing and benches, I don't see how those kids are going to be motivated to travel a half to 3/4 of a mile. I just don't see it. And I think that, you know, some of the opportunity of this investment will be lost by moving it down there. And if the Parks Department doesn't want to support this at a property, you know, in the former envelope of the school department, then, you know, perhaps there's another way to support this in terms of maintaining it. I don't know. But I don't get the sense that there's been an open discussion amongst the powers that be at the DPW and the town hall and the Eagle House and the library and all of the stakeholders to really kind of discuss this. To my knowledge, it hasn't happened.
Well, I mean, we can't discuss those other government, other commissions. We are just the skate park, the Parks Commission here. So I guess what's in front of us is, do we support, which we already voted. I wasn't a part of the commission. We don't support as a commission this taking on a skate park that's next to TCP. And there was discussions about why that was the case back then. So the question here that I see in front of us is, do we support the skate park being in Marshall Park? We can have a vote on that. And I think it would be upon the skate park group to decide if that's something they want to explore or not. And if they don't want to explore, you know, they can go move forward with their efforts they have had. Our vote and our position does not change what the group does. It's just where we stand in terms of as a commission. So I would say, have we had a vote, Karen, in terms of do we support the skate park in Marshall Park or no?
We haven't. One quick thing first. Hey, Anthony, can you stop screen sharing for a second? Just because I don't know what it looks like on the TV. This graphic's just been up for a while. I don't know if it takes away from people following on. Okay, so we have not had a vote yet on supporting something in Marshall. That's something that can absolutely be put on the table this evening. I do want to let Mr. Beardmore know you can reach out to any of us park commissioners and we can, you know, further have that discussion with you, because I totally understand what you're saying. And I can't say that I disagree with what you're saying on many of those points. I will say that that choice of property, Parks was never involved in that initial choice of that property. So, you know, it's a situation where one group made the decision, and can it still go in there? I firmly believe that it can. And does it have to be overseen by the Park Commission? I don't believe it does. I think there's other groups that could oversee it if they so chose to. So I'm gonna let Aiden, he's had his hand up for a while, so I do wanna let him throw in his comment. And then as a commission, we can go back, make a decision on supporting this project if they decide to take that option at Marshall Park. And if the skate park chooses not to pursue Marshall Park, that's perfectly fine. They can go back to the Board of Selectmen and tell them that they've had discussions with us and they would like to move forward on that TC Passios location. We're not here to try to strong arm anybody into moving to a location that they don't want to be in. That is not our goal at all. But what's on the table for our discussion this evening are the pros and cons of locating at Marshall Park. Aiden, sorry, buddy. It took me.
No, you're fine. So I just wanted to, I feel like I'm circling back, but I just want to make one point on some of the locations that you are proposing. So with your point that you don't want it to be like more of a destination park, I feel like with the baseball fields all around it and people coming from other towns to play baseball, I feel like you're kind of stabbing yourself in the back in the aspect where it's going to become more of a destination park, as we're going to have lots of people from other towns coming to play baseball, then probably bringing other kids who are going to want to use the skate park while their brothers or sisters are playing baseball or softball. But in regards to destination park, I feel like it's gonna be used by other towns no matter what. Just by judging by like the Fitchburg skate park or the Pepperell skate park, I've gone there. I've gone to both of them plenty of times, and I've met people from all over. And also in Acton, like me and my friends, we travel all the way out to Acton because we like that skate park. So I feel like we might not have a choice in regards to that. I feel like it's gonna become a destination park no matter what.
Thank you.
Just so I joined the Parks Commission here, recently. Prior to being on the Parks Commission, I was active with the skate park group. I helped organize a golf tournament to raise some money for the group for the project. I've been involved with collecting money in the center of town and so forth for them. And I at the time, I was at the Board of Selectmen meeting when they presented the other land. And at that time, I didn't understand, kind of the overall game plan for Marshall Park in the long run. And the only thing that I knew was there was a rundown skate park in Marshall Park. So that's where my perspective is now. Karen, I think you said it. Certainly can be in TC at the TC Passios land. If the skate park ended up there, I would support it. It's just, it wouldn't fall under the Parks Commission, and that's what we're talking about tonight. But it's a fine location. I have never once said that I wouldn't support it there. I think it's a great location in the center of town, but I also think now, having heard more about Marshall Park and being on the Parks Commission, I do believe that this project could be a great piece of the bigger plan within Marshall Park, and I think it makes some, I think there's a lot more positives than negatives in that regard. I think, and to, Susanna's point too, the aesthetics of it, and making sure that we're not just dropping something in the middle of Marshall Park somewhere. Like, we want it to be a place that looks nice, is nicely landscaped and well maintained. I think that's where, the additional discussions we need to have in regards to the sizing, and is it a skate spot or is it a skate park, and so forth, and reading everything I've read so far, the skate spots don't seem to be the right avenue from a safety standpoint, and the number of people that can actually use them. And I would maybe kind of look for more research from folks in the skating industry on that front. But I've read some things about those sorts of, about the sizing of things. But I think both locations are viable. And I just want to provide that kind of perspective, that I've been on both ends of it. I initially was just supporting the skate park, and I was helping them out. Now on the Parks Commission, I can see both places, but again, from a Parks Commission standpoint, the discussion, as Karen said, is Marshall Park a viable location, for the skate park group? I think it can be. I think it could be a great story within Marshall Park. I think I think it could serve a great purpose there, as an anchor within the park, and make it a spot that people want to go to, and spend some time.
Agreed. Because I like to dot all my I's and cross every T's and make sure these boys understand some of what we're saying. Boys, the TC Passios property is not under the care and control of the Parks Commission. If you as a group decide to move forward and further try to get your park to go in there, it's a discussion that can come back to the Parks Commission on why we chose not to support that. But it has a lot to do with who owns that piece of property, the number of groups that have their hands in that piece of property. I've used this example before, and I'm going to use it again tonight. The turf, the actual turf surface, the track, that fell under the care and control of the Parks Commission. The land itself actually fell under the control of the school committee. And it wasn't that we had two groups of people that didn't want to work together. We had two groups of people that were two totally separate entities trying to figure out how to make this work. The Parks Commission at the time, and this was before I came on, it wasn't maintained well. So now we've got kids out there using it and it wasn't maintained well. And then we had a school department who was making policy on, town meeting, for example. If you guys remember, when there's town meeting, there's no use of those fields, even for soccer. So when those closed down, even though they had no control over the turf fields, they closed their parking lots. We couldn't have a game there. So it becomes problematic when there's two groups of people, or sometimes more groups of people that come in. So I don't want, although the Parks Commission has said we would not support at that location, I guess I need you to understand that it was the location and the ownership of that land, that it wasn't the Parks Commission saying we weren't supporting a skate park. So it's just two different things. And I just want to make sure you boys understand that it's two different things. And if you decide to pursue over at TC Passios, and we need to have another discussion with the Board of Selectmen or with you guys individually on whether or not we could change our minds on supporting it over there, we can go down that avenue again. That is not a problem. I respect the amount of work that you guys have put in on this, and I know it's been a long time. You guys just need to get the next step going. Griffin, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was possible, or if there was anything we could do to make that piece of land fall under the Parks Commission.
So there is, and anybody can chime in and tell me if I'm incorrect in my understanding. My understanding of it is that if a piece of property was moving hands from the Board of Selectmen into the control of another group, whether it be the Park Commission, Conservation Commission, it goes in front of town meeting. So it would have to be a warrant article that goes in front of town meeting to move that piece of property from the hands of one group to the hands of another group. So we wouldn't have the ultimate decision making in that. It would be town meeting that would have the final say in that.
So then why can't we start the project now so that we can finish at the same time and make sure everything gets aligned?
So you mean start the project now and then bring it to town meeting?
The process.
I mean, we can't tell you what you guys should do. I mean, it's again, we're not here to strong arm anybody into doing something that they don't want to do. So, and I'm also not going to tell you what you have to do either. So, if you want to pursue that avenue, if you want to have discussions with the, I think I see Mr. Moore's physical hand up. Okay, give me 1 second, Phil. You can certainly do that. There's probably more to it than my simplistic explanation of it, including, whether people are going to want the support of the current group that owns that. And if the Board of Selectmen don't have any interest in handing it over, town meeting's an interesting place, and it's all about, did you make your case? And is your case strong enough to get the votes that you need? Mr. Moore?
So to kind of piggyback what I just heard you say and speak about, and some of the other conversations, I talked about the idea of collaboration. As a clarifying question, am I hearing that the Parks Committee is interested and wants to be a collaborator on this, having to do with the Marshall Park location? Because it sounds like that you have larger plan in hand. And I know that that all of the work that's been done, the kids, the parents, everybody who's been working on this, we're looking for other people to be a part of the growth of this idea. And so if that's something, and I don't, Mr. Passios, I think it was, had mentioned that there's grants, and I don't know if you were just speaking of that metaphorically or kind of as a future idea, but if you are in knowledge as a group of grants that you're trying to access to help make your dream come true, the dream that the boys have, I think could collaborate very nicely and be a good selling point for your pitches to whatever money you're trying to get to help them and, you know, and make a symbiosis of it. So is that what I'm hearing, that the Parks Committee is actually interested in doing a collaboration on the Marshall Park site?
So, and I'll let any of the other commissioners add in as well. I'm not going to circle back to the beginning because it's unfair to the boys that have put in so much work. But we are here where we are today, and I am not looking at these boys and saying, we don't want to be a part of this. That just to me is not fair. The Board of Selectmen, it is my understanding, would like to see this fall under the Parks Commission. It is the desire of the Parks Commission to, or at least previous Parks Commission, before we became a 5-member board, that supporting of this project, we were in support of it as long as it was going to be on a piece of property that was fully in the care, custody, and control of the Parks Commission. So yes, if we can get everybody on the same page, and I think that a vote this evening, I mean, I can't guarantee which direction it's going to go in. I have a thought that it's of where it's going to go, that if we support this and say we would support it over at Marshall Park, then yes, I would think that we would be a partner in this. It doesn't mean we're going to do all the legwork to get the grants. I mean, we have only a part-time administrative position in our rec director. But, you know, the fact that it would go in on Parks property does open up another avenue for grants, and we would support that avenue for that grants. I would imagine we would. I mean, if it's going in on our property and somebody can benefit off of the fact that it's Parks property to get that grant, I would believe that we would support it. Anybody else in the commission disagree with that or have another thought on that?
Karen, if I could, that's pretty much what I said earlier, that, you know, Parks will do everything possible if we come to an agreement at some point that it's going to go into Marshall Park. My perspective is that we will do everything possible to make it the greatest park it can be, skate park, I'm saying. The other thing that I didn't mention, and again, I try to be a little cautious about committing other committees and ad hoc committees and so on, but we've already had discussions with the Open Space Committee, who actually created the document that's going to make it much easier for us as a Parks Commission to get grants for Marshall Park. That we've already got a collaboration promised with them to help us get through the grant process. And I would imagine that, you know, if the skate park project is part of the overall project, then it rolls right into the funding for our project overall, or at least some funding for it.
I agree. So Park,
just wondering, in terms of priority, where does the skate park fall in this final project?
You mean?
Well,
yep, go ahead, Anna.
You know, the fact that we have you guys as advocates for this, that could help us a lot. Right now, we are trying to outline the overall ideas, what we think it should go there. And there's so many ideas and possibilities that, you know, it makes it into a longer process for us. And having a group that's like, hey, we want a skate park. And we're like, oh, there you go. We can serve the town by having a skate park. That becomes a priority because we have advocates, people that are coming in to us and saying, we need a skate park there. So I think it's at a high priority because we are hearing that there are people that would like that space. So that's my thoughts. You know, I know Susanna had said that she would like to leave at 8:30. If if no one has anything else, and I don't know if I'm out of order for suggesting, maybe we can, the discussion for the agenda today was a discussion about, supporting skate park and Marshall Park or not. And discussion at Lindbergh's regarding the pros and cons. And so I think we could make a motion, and then vote on, does this board supports the skate park in Marshall Park? And that would be.
Is that your motion?
Well, I don't know if I'm out of order for saying that.
You're not out of order.
So.
Did you have something you wanted to add to that, Susanna? I see your hand up.
No, yeah, sorry. I just wanted to say that to answer, I forget who just asked the question, but we could not, I would suggest that we not move forward on redesigning the park without knowing if they want the skateboard park in it or not. And it would be such an integral part of the park to answer you. It would be a major anchor in the park that we would have to know. I wouldn't suggest we design any of the park without knowing if a yes or no, if we're gonna have the skateboard park part of it. Very, very important part of it.
That's a good point, Susanna, but
yeah,
one of our goals, I think anyway, our number one goal with the master plan is to revitalize assets that already exist.
Right.
And secondly, adding new assets. That's my perception. I hope the commission agrees with me. And you're right. I mean, unless we're going to use a spot that's not presently being used by an existing asset, then we need to know where that park's going to go within Marshall Park.
As far as drafting a master plan, though, we should not move forward without. But it's, I mean, I'm absolutely all on board with revitalizing the track as soon as possible and doing those parts, those components that we already have talked about for sure. Yeah. But drafting a master plan, that skateboard park would be a huge anchor to the park, and we need to place that thoughtfully.
Yeah, and if I understand correctly, the way fundraising is going, we're a year and a half to 2 years out before the skate park's going to be ready to break ground. Please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that if we agree that it goes to Marshall Park, then gives us all plenty of time to figure out what it's going to look like and exactly where it's going to go in the park.
Aiden, did you have something?
If we go that direction.
Aiden, did you have something to add to that before I entertain this motion?
Yeah. So I really did. I have a question about your support of our park at behind the library. So so for the people who said they won't support the park at our preferred location, I'm just wondering if that.
Lost him.
We lost Aiden. Give him a second.
Looks like Phil's frozen. Oh, there it is.
Phil, is Aiden trying to get back on?
I believe he is. We're in two different areas of the house, if you can imagine that.
I'm back now. I'm sorry.
So go ahead. So try again.
So I'm just wondering, for the people who said that they aren't in support of our location, I'm just wondering if that's because you don't like what we have proposed, or I'm just wondering if it's because you can't physically support it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So, and I'm trying to bring my brain back to a year ago. I think Susanna is still on. So yeah. Go ahead, Susanna.
Yeah, so my objection to that TCP location is that I don't like the aesthetics of it. I don't like the loss of the open green space in the town center, and I think it would be a better suited within a park environment.
Yeah, I do see that, but I really think that I think that we can preserve green space there. I really think that there is going to be a large perimeter of green space around the skate park, but with the new addition of if they do go through with it, but a new addition of a parking lot, I feel like we could tie the skate park in really well to the parking lot and just have like, I feel like it would just tie well into the whole surrounding. We could really just make a whole new area for people to be. But otherwise, I really do believe that this is the best spot for the park to be because it has perfect visibility without the removal of trees. And just like people were saying earlier, it's very accessible for EMS and police. But as I said earlier, we are very open to discussing Marshall Park. But if there is anything you can do to maybe claim ownership of this land, I feel like that would be the best option for us. And it would be really the best option for the skate park overall.
So here's my thought on this, Aiden, and I'm gonna turn it back to the commissioners in a second since we just hit 8:30 and I think we're probably close to wrapping this up. Is that let's make the determination this evening on Marshall Parks to have the official parks support or vote on that, on including a park there. I want to stress to you guys that this does not preclude you from continuing to pursue the piece of property that you feel is best for a skate park that you guys have put in a ton of time and effort on. If it comes back to you saying we don't want to put it in Marshall, we obviously want to know that, and if you say we want to continue moving through on TC Passios, it would be my recommendation that we have a discussion again. I have a lot of reservations on that piece of property and I don't disagree with Susanna, but I think that understanding how that piece of property would work, how it would work if it was maintained by the Parks Commission, I think everybody needs to understand where their piece of the puzzle is if we were to change our minds and just to say that we would support something over on that area. But where it's not something we have the ultimate control over right now to say, the Board of Selectmen has to allow you to build there because they gave you that document. We don't have that. That's outside of our purview. So yeah, that's that would be my request of you guys would be to go, if you decide as a group that you don't want to pursue any other piece of land other than TC Passios, then, work out those details and the conversation, even if the conversation won't be over with us, because I think that the town is the Board of Selectmen are going to feel that the Parks Commission is the best ones to maintain that. So we'd have to go into discussions again. And, if the Parks Commission is in support of that, we have to figure out how to make it work. So, yeah, that's my best bet. Griffin, I see your hand up again. Is it quick or is it?
Yeah, it's just real quick.
Yeah.
Just for tonight's meeting, as one of the 5 main board members, I feel like there hasn't been enough clarity on the park side of this to really make any decisions. Everyone keeps talking about this big master plan, but I know that a bunch of the boys, especially, we just, no one's shared this vision with us, and we aren't quite sure what you guys are trying to go for. We understand what you're saying and that the skate park would fall into it. So if we can really piece together and work together, as Mr. Moore has been going on, just work together to try and get this vision to be the vision of all of us combined and not just the park's vision mixed in with something that we're going to build there.
Greg?
Boys, I'm going to close it up, okay? I want to say that this has been a valuable discussion. It put a lot of information on the table. I think all of or at least most of the the folks that need to hear what your commission is saying are on the call, and it really helps us a great deal. It, like Mr. Moore Senior, it's great to hear, and it's exciting to think that we have that we'd have your support, and that we could collaborate on a project. And I think what you're hearing from the boys is, I just want to, I guess I kind of want to clear the air a little bit. I think that what you're hearing from the boys is just having trouble coming to terms with having to even think about the possibility of sort of readjusting focus when they sort of when they've been down a path for so long, for 3 years. But it means a lot to the skate park committee if we have your support, and it's good to hear that you're willing to take a motion tonight, and I think we would really appreciate that. The committee obviously has to take this back and sort of circle the wagons a little bit and digest this conversation in our committee, and to see how things might proceed. But it would certainly help us immensely to know that we'd have your support if we're looking at Marshall Park, and even to piggyback on something that Karen said, if it doesn't turn out that way, understanding that there might be I'll call them technical issues, Karen, but there might be land legal issues relative to why you can't formally be sort of the entity that operates and maintains it long term. It still would be helpful to know that we have your support for a skate park in town, the concept of a skate park in town. So I guess I just wanted to close with that and just say that we really do appreciate, we know that you folks are volunteering your time just like us, and we appreciate the hour and 37 minutes that you've given us so far. And I'll turn it back over to you, but we certainly would appreciate if you're willing to make a motion as it was suggested. I think we'd appreciate that.
Yep. You had thrown your ideas for a motion out. Is that a motion that you want to make?
Yeah, so I would like to make a motion for the Parks Commission to support the building of the skate park within Marshall Park.
Second.
All right, so that was Susanna seconds. Let's do a roll call vote on that. Anna?
We have some discussion.
Oh, yep.
Very
Sorry.
quickly.
That's on me. Yep, discussion.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make it very clear that this is a very simple, we would support it in Marshall Park. That doesn't give a final answer as to what we talked about earlier about, negotiating back and forth about size. Location in the park at this point isn't chosen. So it's just a raw vote that says we will support it within the boundaries of Marshall Park. I'm not saying we won't take it those 2, 3, 4 steps further. I'd be very excited to take it through all those steps. But this motion here is just supporting it on that property.
That's my only, my question related to the motion would be the size discussion, because I think that my opinion is that has to be opened back up. I think if all we're supporting is a 5,000 square foot skate spot, I don't think that's what the skate park committee is looking for either.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's a whole nother element, that if that's the discussion of what's on the table is a skate spot in Marshall Park, then that's something that that's something I think tonight that the skate park group should know about before, so that they can make the best decision for themselves as well. Because I don't think that their vision is a 5,000 square foot skate spot.
So just to comment, we've been on for an hour and a half now, and I know Susanna has to leave, and I would like to not lose the conversation we had. So, and I would like to respect the fact that so my motion was specific to a skate park within the boundaries, and I didn't bring up anything regarding sizes because I think we have said we are willing to talk about sizes and so forth. So I think that might be worth of another discussion among us. I think, Chris, you have said that in the beginning of this meeting and previous meeting that the 5,000 is something that you're willing to revisit. I think I would like to revisit because I wasn't part of that conversation. But we have had some good and important discussion. I think it would have some value on having that motion and voted on.
I think the last meeting we had, Karen, you mentioned, I think we need a motion to open up the discussion again about the size of the skate park.
We do.
Right.
Right, but we do that at a future meeting.
But I think the skate park, if we're going to make a motion tonight and the skate park group is going to go back and discuss their thoughts about Marshall Park, and we decide at a future meeting that we're still only going to support 5,000 square feet, it's not fair to the skate park group tonight to start a discussion on their own about their thoughts on Marshall Park if we're only going to say, well, here's 5,000 square feet.
So my thought on that, Chris, would be to ask the skate park to figure out where we're going with this motion. If it's in their favor, ask them to go back, have a discussion amongst their people and decide whether or not they even want to continue to pursue something at Marshall Park, or if they're going to focus their energy on the other location. And if they do want to continue at Marshall Park, I think that there's from previous discussions with Anthony and Griffin and some of the other boys over the course of the last year, I think the discussion on size could be a lengthy discussion. And we can, at our next meeting with them, just if they come back with a positive, yeah, then let's have an open discussion on size. Because the other thing that comes into play is going to be the location. And I don't think we're going to nail down a location at this point, because maybe, again, depending on where we can put it, it might depend on how big of a park they can put in.
Sure, I just want to be respectful of
Yep.
their time as well. If they're going to have that discussion, and that's what I'm saying. So I don't know if the motion needs to be made where there's been a decision, a prior motion last year about the size. If we need to have a motion tonight to say a motion to open the discussion or revisit the size.
It wouldn't just be a motion to open the discussion. It would basically be a motion to rescind the previous decision. We could certainly make a motion rescinding that and leave it open-ended again. The problem with that, what happens if, they come back and I don't think you do this, but suddenly we've got a 30,000 square foot skate. It could go in 1,000 different directions. I don't think that I personally would like to hear more than I think we have time for on size. If it's all right with the commission, Anthony just put his hand up. Do you have something quick to add, Anthony?
Karen, thank you. This is Anthony Kiozo. I've been obviously rather quiet during this entire dialogue, which is very uncharacteristic of myself.
I was going to say that, Karen.
At the same time, I really enjoyed hearing this project, grow in life, size, and obviously passion through this group. And there were many others that actually wanted to attend this evening that had feelings on this project one way or another. I think one thing that's been extremely clear through listening to the dialogue is we, unfortunately, I think like everyone on this call has observed, we haven't been really provided any information to go off and make a decision. I think this dialogue is sort of, if you look at total amount of completion, we're probably about a third of the way towards getting everything out on the table. And you guys are right. Yeah, there are a number of factors in play that do need to be decided before anyone can make any sort of an educated decision. So, Chris, I know I don't have any voting powers here, but I agree with you. And if you guys would like, I think really the key next thing is for this entire group to come to consensus on these items. And I would hate to have this slip out another month, 2 or 3, to get have another opportunity to continue the dialogue. So yes, I would like to very much see this continue in the near term. I think we're actually a lot closer to building this than we all realize.
But let's just in my opinion, Anthony, I appreciate what you just said, but if I might interject, Madam Chairperson, I apologize.
It's okay.
Let's let the board vote. We're just asking, we're just seeing what the board thinks about the concept of the park, of the skate park at Marshall Park. There's still the work to be done to come back. In my opinion, we need to present the board with a more thorough, it probably is a sole agenda topic of size and look, and if we want to explore it, location, we need to, I think, convince at least a few members of the board still why we think it needs to be the size we think it needs to be. So I think that should be done at a future meeting, which was my hand signal, before. I think we can.
Yeah.
I think we can. But I do echo Mr. Kiozo's sentiments that if it's at all possible to, and maybe if you even just slot us in for half an hour, 45 minutes to bookend our time, if it's at all possible to put that on a agenda that's not super far out, we would certainly appreciate it. And I'll stop.
We can do that. We can do that. All right. So we have a motion on the table by Anna that was supported by Susanna. Do we have any additional discussion on that from the commissioners? All right, let's move forward with a roll call vote on that. Anna?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Susanna?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
It's an aye from myself. All right, so here's where we are, boys. You have the support of the park commission to put a skate park within the boundaries of Marshall Park. There's still, as you've heard, a lot of legwork that still needs to be done, both with us jointly and you as an individual group. I am more than happy to attend any of the meetings that you need me to attend to help answer any questions as you continue down this path of figuring out what you want to do. It would be my hope that our next meeting is on,
It's 2 weeks out.
it is on Friday, the 12th of February. I'm happy to put you on for a 30 to 45 minute time slot if you think we need to. And I'm also happy at some point in March, either early March or late February, to give you another meeting for yourself if you think that it's going to take up a considerable amount of discussion time. We can do that road too. But I'm asking you as a group of people trying to determine where you want to go, that if you discuss in the next week or two that you absolutely don't want to go with Marshall Park, that you let us know. We're not going to rescind our vote on that, but it would just give us an idea of where the direction that you're heading in and what we need to prepare for should you guys come to us wanting support, wanting us to reconsider our support over at TC Passios. So there's work on both sides to be done. So
fair enough. When would you need to know if we wanted some agenda time for the 12th?
Let's see. By the 8th or the 9th.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'm okay putting it on there too, Greg. And if the boys decide the day of that it's not needed, we can certainly.
All right, well, we'll try not to do that to you.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it.
And we are trying to be somewhat mindful of our agenda timeframes.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of us that have little kids.
Absolutely, understood.
Yeah, so awesome. Does anybody else have any public comments that they want, or board comments that they would like to make for this evening?
I have a comment. Am I still on?
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to, could you please send that slideshow that you guys presented to the whole board via email and to Kayla as well?
If you send it to the parks@lunenburgonline.com address, we all get it. All 5 commissioners and our rec director.
No problem. We can do that.
Boys, good job presenting. Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to do this tonight.
You do need to be commended, boys. I was out of all the parks commissioners, I don't know if Mr. Passios was there years ago when you first presented, but I was on the board then, and I've watched you guys grow up from those 7th graders to now being sophomores in high school. You've done a lot of work on this, and I don't want you to think that it's going unnoticed, because we're noticing it and we do know how long it takes to do this. And I appreciate you guys sticking with it. Town government is sometimes painfully slow, sometimes for a good reason. But I do commend you for sticking with this project. You've done a great job so far. So, all right, folks, it is 8:50. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Can I
Motion to adjourn.
request a future agenda item
Dave?
with the warrant open for Springtown meeting and closing March 15th? We need to make a decision in the very near future on the revolving fund, whether we're making any changes to that or not. So we need that on the very next meeting, I believe.
Yep, I will. And if it doesn't show up when I send out the agenda, please.
I'll remind you.
All right, awesome. All right, so now we're still at 8:50. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn at 8:50.
Second,
Quick roll.
we're ready.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank
We
you
gotta
for your
vote
time.
first.
Aye.
Bye, everyone.
Anna?
Bye.
Aye,
Susanna?
Oh, I think she said aye already.
gone.
It was aye or bye, one of the two.
Yeah.
Aye.
And it's an aye for myself. We are all done at 8:50. Thanks, folks.
And
Thank
everybody,
you.
Karen, give me a call real quick.
Yep.
Good night.
Thank you.
Right.